I'm going to start by scooping out some vanilla cake dough. Make sure to keep your scooped cake balls in a container with a lid and keep them covered when you're not using them so they don't dry out. Squeeze your cake dough in your hands a couple times to really compact your cake dough together, and then roll into a cake ball. Next, we're going to get out a piece of plastic wrap and a small heart-shaped cookie cutter. Cover the cookie cutter with a plastic wrap and squish your cake dough down inside, and try to make sure that you squish it down until it's smooth on both sides. Once it's smooth on both sides, you can go ahead and flip it over, remove the cutter, and then remove the plastic wrap, and you should have a nice heart-shaped cake ball. I was all out of red candy melts, so I just used some pink candy melts and red candy dye to color them red. Dip your cake pop stick in a little chocolate and insert it into the bottom of your heart, and then spread out the excess with a toothpick. Dip straight down into your candy melts, and then knock off the excess chocolate by tapping your wrist gently. Use a scribe or a toothpick to pop any bubbles. Once your cake pop is dry, we can begin painting. Today we're only going to need our white paint and our thinner. Make sure to cover your paint palette with press and seal or plastic wrap. This just makes the cleanup so much easier because poppy paint does dry waterproof. And then get out a shot glass and fill it with Everclear to clean your paintbrushes. Shake up your white poppy paint and squirt a little bit into your paint palette. Using a fine tip paintbrush, go ahead and start to create dashes around the outside of your cake pop. Make sure to clean your paintbrush often with alcohol, as paint will begin to build up on the end, and we want to keep our dashes nice and thin. Once you're done with your dashes around the outside, go ahead and start a second heart in the middle, and then go ahead and continue with a third. Dust your surface with some cornstarch, and then roll out a long strip of yellow fondant. Dust the top of your fondant so that it's easier to remove from our strip cutter, and then place your strip cutter down on top and press firmly. Run your fingers along the back side of it just to make sure that they're nice and cut, and then begin to pull them out. You need 2 strips per cake pop. I'm only doing 1, but if you were doing, let's say, a dozen, you would need 24 strips. Turn your strips on the side and begin to maneuver them and shape them like we're going to want them to look in the end. If you don't know what that shape is, go ahead and look at the finished product. That's the shape that we're going for. Once they're in the right shape, we will go ahead and leave them to the side to dry for at least 30 minutes. If you're using gum paste, you only need to let it dry for about 5. Once they are dry, put them next to your heart and see how you want them to look. I wanted mine a little bit shorter, so I trimmed the bottom on one and the top on the other. Once they are the correct length, we can go ahead and paint them with some cake shimmer. I chose gold, and I'm going to pour it out into my palette and then add a little bit of my poppy paint thinner to turn it into a gold paint. Mix it together well, and then begin to brush it on to your fondant with a paintbrush. If your gold paint begins to dry out and turn back to a powder, just add more thinner, 1 drop at a time. I'm using Little Honey's edible glue, and I'm going to brush a little bit on the curved part of the inside of our fondant, just where we're going to attach it to our heart. Give it a minute to really get tacky and then press it on. Once you've pressed both sides on, you're all done with your cake pop, and this is my version of the Grinch's heart that grew 3 sizes. I hope you guys enjoyed watching.